Common Filth Extra episode 4 is out now on Bandcamp, commonfilthradio.bandcamp.com, and it's a good episode. Longest episode of Common Filth Extra yet, and I think it is the best work I will do all week, so please check it out. It's only $1 for, I think it's 36 minutes long if I'm not mistaken. Anyway. So yeah, I used to release them on Monday. I'm now releasing them on Tuesday because it just makes sense because it's tied in a little bit with what I'm doing here on this show. Anyway, this story, wonderful story here. Gamer sues Bethesda after losing his wife and job to Fallout 4 addiction. No matter how much time you spent with Fallout 4 since it launched last month, it probably hasn't had as big of an impact on your life as it has one gamer from some place in Russia. I struggle with Slavic names. According to a report from RT, the 28-year-old man is suing Bethesda, the developer of the game, for 500,000 rubles, $7,000 US dollars, after losing his job and his wife. He says he didn't know the game would be so addictive. Apparently, after seeing an advertisement for the game, the man decided to download it and spend a few hours playing over the next few days. Those days quickly turned into 2 weeks, and after missing several days of work, he was fired from his job. His friends stopped hearing from him. His sleeping and eating habits deteriorated, and his wife let him. If I knew that this game could have become so addictive, I would have become a lot more wary of it. I would not have bought it, or I would have left it until I was on holiday or until the New Year holidays, the man said in a statement. Although there have been similar cases around the world in the past, this is a first for Russia. So the law firm representing the Fallout 4 addict is going to see how far we can go regarding this case. Ambulance chasers are everywhere. Ambulance chasers are not just in America. Anywhere there is a buck to be made with regard, excuse me, I was adjusting my headphones here. Anywhere there's a buck to be made through the legal system, people will exploit that. But what does it say about this guy's family? It probably wasn't all, family life was not all it was cracked up to be to this guy. He clearly doesn't enjoy spending time with his wife and kid, which is very sad. But you have to wonder why that is, and I don't think we're ever going to find out. And now this is catching my eye. The Giants reportedly believe Panthers players directed homophobic slurs at Odell Beckham Jr. And? That changes everything. Some football player called me a fag. You should put him in front of a human rights tribunal. Now I see this tweet. Trump floats functional healthcare system, care for veterans, military rearmament, national spiritual awakening. Give me a fucking break. A confirmed adulterer is going to give us a national spiritual awakening. Whatever. Oh great, he's going to build a wall. What about the people still here? What about the void we live in after 2 world wars? The genetic void brought on by 2 world wars that have destroyed our greatest bloodlines, never to be recovered. Now what do we have left? Proud white people who bitch about Muslims on the internet and who extol the virtues of white people sodomy. What else? What else do we have? CDC investigating different E. coli strain at Chipotle. I wonder why. I wonder what kind of employees a company like Chipotle attracts. What else? What else is going on in the world? Campaign against SEXBOTs warns of devaluing human relationships. The campaign against sex robots raises red flag for violence and victimization, calls for standards and SEXBOTs. So the standard is these things should be outlawed. That's just a bridge too far. Fuck you. But we'll read on. Kathleen Richardson is worried about sex robots. Now a robot ethics researcher at De Montfort University. She spent the last 15 years looking at robots designed to take on intimate roles that were once thought off limits to machines. Companions, friends, lovers. I'm sure that Fallout 4 boy would have loved a SEXBOT. Wow, she really gets me. It's already done. Human relationships are not valued at all. Because observe what we think can be achieved. We think that all human relationships are interchangeable regardless of sex. Let me tell you something. I've been listening to my back catalog in assembling Common Filth Radio, the best of 2015, and I can't count the amount of times I got some question about I'm in a homosexual relationship, or I was. It's like, no one listens to anything. You think everything is arbitrary? You think the natural order is just arbitrary? Of course you do. You've never received a proper education. And a proper education starts at home. But you were born to people who had no interest in fostering a good home environment. But maybe that statement gives people too much credit. Whatever. What else have I heard about? What else have I heard myself saying? Larry Brinken. Oh, you remember him, the same-sex marriage equality activist who got a slap on the wrist for possessing infant rape porn. He was caught having email accounts with this stuff in his inbox. And he added comments like, "White dick rules." Hey, it is okay if white people do it, am I right? What else? Oh, that Bean guy who worked for the same organization as he did, the HRC, who got busted soliciting sex from a 15-year-old boy. Bryan Singer and his network of Hollywood boy rapists. Nothing happened to him either. Oh, what about that one documentary? The review of that we read about the guy who set up a meeting where 50 guys line up outside of his apartment and they all do unspeakable shit to his that place where poop comes out. That guy lives in New York City, a great American city. And I have people telling me that it's straight people who have an HIV fetish. Yeah, if you live in a big city, try to set it up. Hey girls, I want to give you the gift. Tell me how that works out for you. And in between listening to myself, I give myself a break from listening to myself to listen to somebody else, and I hear people saying to each other, "Oh, sexuality doesn't matter." That's what Anglo-Saxon culture is to me. Buggery and cross-dressing. And fairy tales, providing providing their readers, people who write fairy tales, providing their readers with an escape from their dismal lives because they're born to incompetent parents. And then people liking Harry Potter more than they enjoy the company of their own family. Same thing in America. Except replace whatever fantasy fairy tale bullshit with Star Wars. And I have a question about Star Wars that I will get to at some point in this session. Should I continue with the sex robot story? Yeah, sure. While the concept of a robo-girlfriend may seem far-fetched, there is the prediction that most of us, yes, you read that right, will be having sex with robots by the year 2050. And although sex robots are nowhere near mainstream, companies like True Companion and Real Doll have already developed strikingly realistic models. If you have any doubt about how realistic, look at the New York Times video. Some of these companions can engage in conversation and can even download different personalities. This may seem like a fantasy for those who are less inclined or able to form real-life relationships, but it has raised serious concerns. Earlier this year, Richardson, along with Eric Billing of the University of Skövde in Sweden, formed the Campaign Against Sex Robots, whose mission is to raise awareness about how these robots are potentially harmful and will contribute to inequalities in society. Then they approach this very real issue from the weakest, most limp-wristed perspective possible. It contributes to inequalities in society. That's the worst problem with sex robots. With fucking sex robots. How can the existence of a robot contribute to inequalities? Richardson believes that the asymmetrical balance of power between human/SEXBOT is a parallel to the real-world prostitute-John relationship. It just gets worse. The robot, like a prostitute, becomes an object for purchase. It just keeps getting worse. Richardson said that in society today, the objects are women and children and the buyers are men. You don't have to be a feminist, you just have to look at empirical data to see there's a market in human bodies. It's a reflection, she said, of what is already happening in society. For that market to exist, those bodies must be presented in certain kinds of ways. And to present a body in a way that you can buy, you can penetrate, you can torture, is only possible if you don't see that other human as a full subject. If you truly value other human beings, it would be very difficult to buy sex off of them. And these Scandinavians probably believe that heterosexual marriage is a form of objectification. So why should I take you seriously? The argument can be made that yes, a SEXBOT is an object, so what's wrong with it? But by treating humanoid robots as objects designed to purely fulfill our own sexual needs, Richardson argues, we are also devaluing human relationships. I'm looking at what we need as human beings, how much we need other human beings. How about how much man needs woman and woman needs man? For a man and a woman, he has a reason to fight because she ensures his genetic lineage. For a woman, she needs man to physically protect. You know, that kind of old antiquated thing that nobody seems to take seriously anymore. Nah, it doesn't have any bearing on any decision or anything, any word that these retards say. When the human element disappears, she says, and we are essentially telling people that they can never have their needs gratified through a machine. I didn't need to carry on like that. There's a period. First of all, that's not possible, she said. That in itself will change humanity. While the focus of Richardson's campaign is SEXBOTs, her broader concern is with any robots that replace relationships with humans, including companion robots for the elderly. Could we live in a world where we're no longer interacting with each other? Where this machine is constructed to meet our needs, to give us what we want? Richardson asked. All the evidence is saying no. Well, I do agree with that, because what we want the most is what we need the least. I've given many examples of that. Richardson is not alone in her concerns about the breakdown of intimacy in relationships. Sherry Turkle, MIT professor and author of Reclaiming Conversation, recently spoke to Tech Republic about how her research is showing a troubling development coming along with our increased attachment to our devices, a lack of empathy towards each other. Richardson also pointed out the lack of empathy as a natural outcome when we begin treating lifelike robots as objects designed for our pleasure. Not everyone shares these concerns, however. The Second International Congress on Love and Sex with Robots, there's a international congress for this shit, which recently made headlines when it was banned in Malaysia, is an academic gathering partly intended to make more realistic sex robots. We want to improve human happiness, said Adrian Chiak, co-founder of the conference. He said that for people who are very shy, mentally or physically disabled, depressed, or lonely, or elderly, sex robots can be an option for them. Whereas it may be difficult for them to have sex with humans. And again, conflating sex with love and connection. No one gets it, and no one ever will. You're defiling yourselves in the name of human progress. Merry Christmas. Richardson sees these types of arguments as problematic. When it comes to the physically disabled person using a sex robot, she said, it means that his needs are more important than recognizing the full subjectivity of another human being. And while she doesn't believe Pearson's prediction that most of us will be having sex by 2050, he was funded by a sex toy company, she said, she worries about the direction we're headed if we don't begin treating this work with serious ethical considerations and standards. It's getting us ready for a new, different kind of sexual relationship where anything goes. We need to genuinely cultivate a sense of humanity, she said. I'm trying to get people to really think about what sex means, what relationships mean in their lives, how technology can be presented as an alternative, and what the consequences of that are. Also, see, academic conference on love and sex with robots abruptly canceled after being declared illegal. Was that Malaysia? That was Malaysia, wasn't it? Yes, it was. There is a future for Malaysians. Their leadership knows what kind of damage these nerds are doing, and their flock, their people, aren't dumb enough to protest it. Can you imagine if the American government banned sex with robots, how many people would be taking to the streets? Right to love. Love is love. This is my robot is my robot needs love too. Why would you hate somebody for loving someone? Fucking sex robots. Are you shitting me? And people are telling me this doesn't have an impact on anybody. As I explained before, your average 90 IQ person, the greatest thing they can fathom is climaxing. That's it. The apathy that creates permissive sexual mores is the one that creates demographic displacement. There, you listening now? Let's just do some Reddit questions. And I'm just going to do Reddit question this week, plus one Ask FM question. Because it pertains to something I already talked about. What's your opinion on Mr. Medocre / Internet Aristocrat? He's got some good material. I'm sure I don't agree with everything he says, but I have not explored it in depth enough to discuss it. But he's a good entertainer. He's got a good voice. And yeah, I check in on him every once in a while. Sorry about my chair there. What's the deal with that kid you keep posting videos of on Full House memes? It's not me who's posting them. I simply founded the page. I manage it, but very little of what you see there these days is mine. Will you ever go on the Daily Show again? No. Opinion of Ron Paul? No opinion at this point. He's retired. He is irrelevant. Hey CF, I found more triggering material for all of us to lose hope in a question. According to Pew, more U.S. Christian groups grow more accepting of homosexuality. The former president of the French Christian Democratic Party was sentenced Friday, December 18th, to pay a €5,000 fine for public incitement to hatred or violence against homosexuals for having said that homosexuality is an abomination. And congressional omnibus to bring in 300,000 Muslim invaders in the next 12 months. The bill also affords the quadrupling of H-2B visa workers. On a related note, how should one deal with the despair they instill after reading such news as the aforementioned stories? You know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. Nothing, and there's no public will to change these attitudes. So brace yourself. Assume the worst is going to happen, and occasionally you will be surprised. Again, we are very small voices out here, speaking out against whatever it is. Your leaders are shit, your neighbors are shit, your family is shit. Everyone is shit. So brace yourself and the pain will dull. Next. First off, thanks for answering my question a few weeks back. Greatly appreciated. What are your thoughts on gender roles? I seem to be the only person I know who thinks they are extremely important for maintaining order in society. Of course, no one seemed to understand since we live in a world of chaos. A little irrelevant tidbit, my English teacher told the class that the school was offering free sociology classes. What a joke. Also wanted to show you this, what is wrong with everyone. And what this is a screenshot of debate.org. And the debate question is consensual incest wrong? And 82% of its users say no. So, there you go. Well, I think we should start calling them sex roles. Gender is a terrible word. And, yeah, I am in favor of them. Women are shitty soldiers and men are shitty nurturers. Shitty homemakers. That's all you have to say about it. What's your take on middle-aged men, from awkward self-portraits and man-child interests to new males, adult autists, and midlife crisis? This has always been the case. Too many men deal with their own mortality with no grace, no humility, no dignity. And it's definitely the case that society doesn't do men any favors. It's not like we're sending men out to die in wars anymore. Where if you survive that, you might welcome your own mortality. You'll have some perspective, but how many people have perspective? Maybe it always has been the case, but now that we can document every minutia, every bit of minutia, it seems to be a lot worse. Next. Hey CF, I was listening to some of your older shows and my ears perked up when you mentioned you liked This American Life. Do you still? Their Abdi and the Golden Ticket episode this past summer triggered me to the fucking moon by lionizing that coward. Short version, wouldn't fight for his country against Al-Shabaab. Instead squatted in Kenya for a free ride to America, and I haven't listened since. I've mentioned something about me not liking a lot of stuff on This American Life. I haven't listened to it in months, so I'm unfamiliar with the story you're talking about. When they do stories like the one you're talking about, I'm familiar with it. I've heard it a million times before. It sucks. So trying to be deep and having these deep stories with geopolitical implications, that sucks. But when these bewildered urbanites do stories about ordinary middle Americans doing strange things, I like that. That makes me glad that I live in America. It shows me a rebellious spirit in the lives of ordinary people. Because the very act of them confusing urbanite journalists, that's an act of rebellion. It's like that one story about the guy who got his bull cloned. That was a great story. I haven't listened to This American Life in some time, though. So, what separates people like us from SJWs? Well, if you talk to your average internet moderate, your radical moderate, yeah, that's what they are. They're radical moderates. Why do you care about anything? God, you're so stupid. And these are the people that tell you, we're just bad as SJW. See, the very fact that people have moral boundaries, that is the offense to them. Having standards is offensive. So if it's standards you're looking at, it's the fact that we have standards, then fine, we're no different. But if you're looking at anything else, well, pretty much everything separates us. Apologies if I sound like devil's advocate, but if a homosexual is truly remorseful for his actions, do you believe he can be cured? Also, are you a fan of the Vigilant Christian? He seems to be into the fighting demons part of religion. I haven't checked him out. I've never heard of him up until this point, unless it was mentioned on some previous episode. When people mention stuff I've never heard of, I don't tend to remember it. So, apologies. Apologies on my behalf. I don't know what you're talking about cured, but I've said this before. If somebody is truly repentant of their sins, yeah, fine. It's like you got to give people an out somewhere. But unfortunately, 99% of sinners of all stripes are unrepentant. So why should I have any patience for the unrepentant? Proud sinners. Recently, okay, LOCF, love your work. Thank you. Recently, just today, in fact, I've come to learn that my nephew's one of these transgender halfwits. Out of nowhere, my sister says he's felt like a girl his whole life. What, all 36 months of it? 48 months of it? And whatever the fuck else. He's probably older than that, I get it, but come on now. his whole life. He hasn't even fucking started life. Can't help but think this poor fuck has been completely brainwashed by the same sort of fucks you expose on your Tumblristas and whatnot. And that with proper guidance, he wouldn't be anywhere near spouting such mental vomit. Well, your sister needs to be incarcerated. She is mentally unfit to raise children. And let me guess, single mom? Let me guess. Am I right? And if I'm wrong, what the fuck is the dad doing? Guess what I'd like to know is what I might pass along to my sister. Perhaps you could recommend a specific CF episode or something. Perhaps you might even have something in mind I could pass along to him. It's a weird place to be where on one hand I want to disown him and yet on the other I feel inclined to steer him in the proper direction. Any help is appreciated, thank you. Well, reading the rest of this message leads me to believe that your nephew is a little bit older. Well, regardless, look, if you're going to steer him in the proper direction, you're going to do it how I would do it. Which is going to push him more towards which is going to push him further into Sodom City limits than he otherwise would be. So I'm sorry to be defeatist about this, but every time I get one of these questions, I say the same thing. There's nothing you can do. Other than to distance yourself so you don't get damaged by it. But if you need to say something, speak the truth. SexChangeRegret.com. How about that? Why are these people committing suicide? They're unhinged. The last thing they need is acceptance. They need somebody to tell them, you're fucking up. That's the truth. That's love. So the choice is yours. ICF, big fan of your channel. Apologies if this has already been addressed, but what is your view on the actual war on drugs? Which drugs do you think should be legalized, if any, and what are your views on the criminal punishment for their use? I think the war on drugs is a massive reverse psychological program. The government wants you on drugs. The government wants you passive and stupid. Any drug, that's its purpose, to incapacitate you. To make you worthless, to make you a worm. And this is how the government wants you, which is precisely why they have the war on drugs. Because you want in the battle between the government and drugs, you'll take drugs, and no one cares that there is a third position to take. We'll do Ask FM, then I gotta go. Got stuff to do, people to see. What are your thoughts on people reposting your content? Just saw one of your Vine compilations on Facebook with 130,000 plus views. I think people who post videos to Facebook are wasting their time. It's not like they're getting paid for it. So whatever. Congratulations, you've upped your e-penis size. Whatever. Hey CF, I recently walked around my school and noticed LGBT signs popping up. I've thought about removing them, putting up Christian posters, or making them look radical. But all this could make myself and conservatives look bad. What should I do to stop this from spreading like their diseases? There's nothing you can do. They have the backing of the faculty. They have the backing of lawyers, of courts, of the federal government. They are backed up at every corner. And there's nothing that you can really do to stop it other than call a demon, go on the offensive. Be self-assured in your views. And yeah, I agree, don't deface their stuff, because then they'll just use an example as, oh look, this is proof that homophobia is institutionalized and rampant, and we still have a lot of work to do. Please continue to fund our bullshit program, because there's a lot of work left to do. Yeah, there's work and then there's activity. My advice is to lead your life as if it is a living, breathing piece of contra-propaganda. Oh, somebody sent me a Steam key. Look, I'll check that out later, but there's no guarantee that my computer can run it. My processor's not great. Hello CF, I showed your latest Vine marathon to a friend of mine, and he was shocked to see that one of the pause pigs appearing therein was his cousin. She was the one saying she wanted to go to hell so she could have gay sex. How should I comfort him after his loss? Well, you can comfort him by saying, look, now you know who to avoid. Here's a relative of yours who will never be loyal to you, as she is loyal to Cum and Satan. And that's it. It should be a blessing in disguise. And here's the one I wanted to get to. What do you think of the Star Wars franchise in general? I have a really hard time expressing my distaste for such flagrant consumerism. Almost every Western person literally buys into it, do you? It's almost a religion at this point, basically worshipping entertainment with merchandise. I saw a news clip, a video clip, recently. Star Wars Mania, everybody's getting in the spirit of Star Wars because of the new movie. Contained in this video clip, people getting married dressed up like Star Wars characters. Explain that one to your dead ancestors. Oh, wait. God took them before they could experience that level of shame. That level of disgust that their blood engages in such frivolity. And for some reason we accept this. We accept this because it's ingrained in American culture. What if you had an anime wedding? People would skewer you mercilessly, and with good reason. So why don't we do the same thing with Star Wars weddings? Look, I don't really care about Star Wars one way or the other. I have no emotional attachment, nor do I dislike it. But I'm at a loss as to why people make this such a focal part of their lives. Maybe the Russian guy who got addicted to Fallout 4 was trying to escape the shame of having a Star Wars wedding. But it is weird no matter how you slice it. Alright, I'm going to call it here. Common Filth Extra episode 4 out now. Check that out. Have a very Merry Christmas, and I will talk to you later.
Grown, ain't I? The skinny nigga with the fro to the slightly bigger nigga who's a killer with the flow. Went from YouTube beats and SoundCloud, nigga. The only difference now is that I found Twitter. Fuck it, it's struggle rap, man. They never see the trouble that I'm going through. The way I sing, they think I live in bubble wrap. Fuck all that, even though I'm on some poppin' shit. With my niggas as my witness, I'm a nigga who can spit. Don't believe me? Overlooking my potential, I'm that poet to a phone, that poet was to a pencil. My mental is similar to that of a lion, and I'm the king of